Hey guys, what's going on? It's David here from Scissor Explosion, and today I'm going to be bringing you another deck profile. Today we're going to be doing Rayquaza GX with Vikavolt. This is a variant I've been working on, and I believe it's really strong. We did play a few games, and I had to make some changes to it because I got stomped by my friend's Rayquaza build. But I will be profiling his Rayquaza build here very soon. So here's Rayquaza Vikavolt. We're almost at 50 subscribers, guys, so once we get up to 50, we're going to be giving away some hyper rare Pokemon GX. Once we reach 50, I'll make a video detailing to y'all how we're going to give those away, so y'all stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. First off, we play 4 copies of Rayquaza GX. Rayquaza GX has that Stormy Winds ability. When you play it from the hand onto the bench, during your turn you can discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If you do, attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Really strong, but in this deck we don't use his ability all that often. We try to accelerate our energy mainly through Vikavolt and then manual attaching. So that way we don't discard anything like rare candies or any other combo pieces we need in order to get to our Vikavolt. And then we have the Dragon Break attack for Grass, Lightning, Colorless. It does 30 damage, times the amount of basic Grass and basic Lightning attached to all of your Pokemon. It's the main attack of this deck. Tempest GX, discard your hand and draw 10 cards for 1 grass energy. Really good. If you don't get disrupted after using Tempest, you have a very high chance of drawing into everything you need in order to get your Vikavolt up and running. So 3 copies of Rayquaza GX, or 4 copies rather, of Rayquaza GX. And next up, we run 3 copies of Grubbin. Grubbin's there. He does have 70 HP, which is really good. It's harder to one-shot for some of those basic Pokemon. A Buzzwole can't come up and just one-shot him with his Jet Punch, but it's harder for Buzzwole to get that off anyway, since he's lost strong energy, and he's lost Retrieval and stuff like that after rotation. So 3 copies of Grubbin. And then we run 3 copies of Vikavolt. Vikavolt has that strong charge ability. It just has so much synergy with this deck. Once during turn before you attack, you can search your deck for a Grass and a Lightning energy and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. And lucky that Rayquaza's attack takes Lightning and Grass energies. So search out those energies, attach them to your Pokemon any way you like, start dealing massive damage with your Rayquaza GX. 3 copies of Vikavolt. No Charjabug, although in your build, if you would like to, you can run a copy or 2 of Charjabug if you'd like. Next up, we have Latias Prismastar. Latias is there for an insurance policy. If you do not get your Vikavolt set up, or you just can't get a whole lot of energies into play, maybe you can dump some to the discard pile, bring up Latias, charge up your Rayquazas that way. But Latias is okay in this deck. With the Vikavolts there, you don't have a lot of bench space for a whole bunch of Rayquazas. At most of the time, you're going to have maybe 2, possibly 3 Rayquazas in play, but most of the time I would say 2. But Latias is there just for that backup insurance policy. Now, for a little disruption, we play 1 copy of the Marshadow with the Let Loose ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you can have both players shuffle their hands into their deck and draw 4 cards. Marshadow is really good because you can search him out with a couple different ways. You have Ultra Ball, you have Mysterious Treasure in order to search him out as well. And then he takes up 1 bench space, which is kind of bad, but the Let Loose ability makes up for that. It's kind of like a Judge without playing a Judge, and then hopefully you draw into another draw supporter and draw out of that. So 1 copy of Marshadow. And to end off the Pokemon line, we play 1 copy of Tapu Lele GX, just to get out those supporters. Maybe we need to go for a Volkner. Yes, I do play Volkner in this deck, and I think it has a lot of synergy with it. You're able to search out an Electric Energy and an item card. So Wonder Tag lets you search out any supporter when you play it from the hand to the bench. So an Energy Drive can be pretty brutal in this deck. If you get a whole bunch of energy piled onto a Tapu Lele, and then bring it up and start knocking out some of your opponent's Pokemon with a Tapu Lele. 1 copy of that, and that is the end of the Pokemon, guys. Next up, we have 4 copies of Cynthia, starting with our supporters. Your basic draw supporter for this format. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. Probably the best draw supporter in the format, in my opinion. And then we play 3 copies of Guzma. I played 4 of my other Rayquaza, but I cut it down to 3 in this one. Switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with them. They're active. or with their active. If you do, you have to switch your active Pokemon to your benched. It's really good for targeting down your opponent's Pokemon you want to take down, and then also Rayquaza has a really high retreat cost, so and discarding energies really isn't an option in this deck. You got to find other ways around that. So 3 copies of Guzma. I'm still rocking the 2 copies of Lily in here. Lily is a really good first turn play. If you have it in your hand, most of the time now, since we're only playing the 1 Tapu Lele, sometimes you want to save it, but if you have a really good hand where you can discard a whole bunch, you can Tapu Lele for Lily to draw 8 cards. So Lily is really good first turn. And now a new addition to this deck, 2 copies of Volkner. Volkner lets you search a deck for an item card and a electric energy and add it to your hand, and then you shuffle your deck. It's really good in this deck. It's like the new Skyla, and I do play it in a lot of my evolution decks just to get that item card search, get that Ultra Ball, or that rare candy, and add it to my hand. But with this deck, I can do that, also adding an electric energy and attach for the turn. So really, really good synergy with this deck. For a couple 1-up supporters, I play 1 Copycat. Copycat lets you shuffle your hand to your deck, then draw a card for each of your opponent's cards in their hand. It's really good. It can be really good, maybe against like the mirror match. If a opposing Rayquaza uses Tempest, you could Copycat and copy their Tempest, draw 10 cards. Really strong card in certain situations. 1 copy of Tate and Liza. Tate and Liza is probably the second best draw supporter in the format, in my opinion. You can choose 1, shuffle your hand to your deck and draw 5, or you can switch your active Pokemon with your benched Pokemon. And it's just really strong because it gives you that option of switching your Pokemon. With Rayquaza having such a high retreat cost, and you don't want to discard all those energies. You want to have other options and other ways to get Rayquaza out of the active if you need to. And the last supporter we play is 1 copy of Judge. Each player shuffles their hand to their deck and draws 4 cards. Really good supporter. It can be a really good first turn supporter too, to put your opponent down at a disadvantage on the starting turn. So 1 copy of Judge. And that's it for the supporters. Next up, we're going with 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is a standard search for any Pokemon deck. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for any Pokemon and add it to your hand. So 4 copies of Ultra Ball. 3 copies of Mysterious Treasure. I cut it down to 3 because we do play a lot of Psychics and Dragons, but I feel like the Ultra Balls are more important in this particular build, just because you'd rather use your Ultra Balls to get out your Vikavolts, and the Rayquazas can kind of come as they come. You do have a lot of draw supporters in this deck, so Mysterious Treasure is there to get those Rayquazas and maybe the Latias or the Lele or the Marshadow. So 3 copies of Mysterious Treasure. Next up, we've got to play 4 copies of Rare Candy. Rare Candy's there in order to get your Grubbin into a Vikavolt without having to go through Charge-a-Bug. So Rare Candy, we play 4 of them to increase the chances of pulling them. I thought about taking it down to 3, but then I remembered Rayquaza's ability. Sometimes you do have to use Storming Winds in order to get the energies back from the discard pile, but I've made other ways to do that. Made other ways so you don't have to get energies back from the discard pile. And that other way is with this card, Wishful Baton. Wishful Baton is really good in this deck because you want to keep your energies on board as much as possible. It's an attached card. If the Pokemon that this card is attached to is knocked out, you can move it to 3 energies from that Pokemon onto another Pokemon. So you could keep 3 of your energies that are on a Rayquaza, move them to another Rayquaza, or maybe to a Vikavolt or to a Tapu Lele, something like that. 3 copies of Wishful Baton. 1 copy of Escape Rope. Escape Rope's really good for that mobility, as I mentioned before. Each player switches their active Pokemon with their benched, but your opponent switches first. So you can kind of see what your opponent's going to switch in and then bring in what you think would be the best for that certain situation. So 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher. Escape Rope. Next up is Rescue Stretcher. Sorry about that. 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. For that recovery of Pokemon, if your Rayquazas get knocked out, or you mill Rayquazas, or something like that, you can get them back into the hand or back into the deck. A really cool combo I've found is if you do use Rayquaza's Storming Winds ability, I pulled this combo off a couple times playing. Use Storming Winds, and maybe you get to discard a Vikavolt, then you can Rescue Stretcher for that Vikavolt, Rare Candy into Vikavolt, and then start strong charging. Pretty cool little combo. It's very situational, but it does happen sometimes. So 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. And then for the energy retrieval, we play 2 copies of Energy Recycler, just like a Tapu Bulu deck. This deck, it feels very similar to Tapu Bulu deck, but the difference is that you're not discarding all those energies when you attack, so they just stay on board. So sometimes when you start rolling, you'll have a whole bunch of Pokemon with a whole bunch of energies on them. But really, you only need, I don't know, 7 or 8 energies on board in order to knock out anything in the game. So yeah, 2 copies of Energy Recycler to get those energies back. And then 1 copy of Palpad to get those supporters back, get those Volkners or those Copycats, some of those 1-up supporters we have, or just Cynthia's. Palpad's there to get those supporters back for us. 1 copy of Palpad. And to finish the deck off, I play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 basic grass. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basic lightning. I had to cut the lightning down for another place in this deck, but I really want to up it back up to 7. So far, it hasn't been too big of a problem. I've been able to get off maybe 3 or 4 strong charges after I've evolved into a Vikavolt, usually. But then we do still have Energy Recycler and stuff like that. So let me know what y'all think. This deck, I think, is pretty strong. And Rayquaza is just inherently strong. He can knock out himself with 6 energies on board. And you can do that really easily with Vikavolt. And Vikavolt is also a really good backup attacker and a non-GX attacking option. He has that Electro Cannon attack for lightning and 3 colorless energies, 150 damage if you discard 3 energies attached to this Pokemon. But I mean, with a choice band, you can hit 180. You can knock out an opposing Rayquaza. You can knock out Tapu Lele. You can knock out stuff like Necrozma GX, Marshadow GX. Without a choice band, you could do that. And then 150 is a pretty high number for a non-GX Pokemon. It's hard for a lot of Pokemon to hit that number naturally, but I really like this deck. I think it's really strong. I think it's really consistent. But I'm still trying to find that perfect build for it. But let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Would y'all build it a little bit differently? Would you think there's certain cards in here you wouldn't play, or maybe cards I don't have in here that you would? Let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, be sure and subscribe and like and comment, and we'll see you all next time.